today's Ag Market Blast with Consus and myself, PIQ. We'll just wait for Angie to turn up. As always, as you know by now, Angie will be providing a rapid roundup of the latest pricing, flows, and market moving news in agricultural markets. And to be honest, I think I'm here just for comedy effect. But yeah, apparently I had some value, but who knows? Certainly it is Angie with the goods. So she will be along very sharpish, or shortly, sorry. I tell you what, let's do the legals, get those out of the way. So as usual, nothing discussed on this Spaces session constitute trading or investment advice, or if there's any kind of endorsement by PIQ or PIQ Global Limited, trading as PIQ or PIQ Suite, sorry, as affiliates, including the affiliates, which obviously, as you know by now, is the amazing Angie, who has just joined. So let's add her and myself, Ryan. Yes. Invite co-host. There we go. It's winging its way. The invite is currently over New York, winging its way from London over to Angie. She'll get it.
I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm here. I can speak now.
I nearly said happy Tuesday, but it's bloody Wednesday. Happy Wednesday.
Oh, it's Wednesday. Welcome. I'm coming to you from a different time zone too. So like it's 8:15. And for a blonde person as myself it was difficult for a minute. I was like, is it 10:15? Is it 8:15? What time do I have to be on? And so here I am. I made it on the right hour. So let's.
Well, do you know what? I feel we won't dwell on this on time zones. You know, people are here for agriculture market, but I will feel sympathy for you here because I was talking to my developers. Our developers for our platform are all based out in Nepal, and for some reason they're like 4.25 hours back. So you've got to factor in the 15 minutes every time. And I'll be honest, being a bit blonde myself, it does fry my little brain cell.
Yeah, I wouldn't be able to handle the quarter. I'd be like, you're on your own. Round up, round down. I don't care.
Exactly. I can do that. It's fine.
Yeah, that's
when you added 15 ticks into it, I'm all over the show. But anyway, enough about time zones.
Yeah, let's party. Really today, like we usually do like 3 bullet points, right? And so I'm going to do 3 bullet points underneath in the trench coat stacked on top of one another. And over top of it, we're going to call it South America because there's just a lot of stuff that we're watching in South America.
Love it.
It's its own set of bullet points today, let's say. And so first things first, right? We're watching weather, trying to get a feel for what's happening with production. It does appear as though we will see weather, kind of stabilize a little bit, at least in the areas where it's the driest and the warmest in southern Brazil. We are seeing more in the way of rainfall working its way in and cooler temperatures. Parts of Argentina are expected to see more in the way of rainfall as well, though it does appear as though we could be setting ourselves up for more in the way of disappointment in Argentina potentially. But the cooler temperatures will help kind of back off what we've been seeing from this, production risk sort of standpoint. Yeah. And so one of the beauty parts about trying to guess what we're doing with weather markets, right, is like, when the weather's bad and it looks like it's going to stay bad, it's easy to trim. But then once things start to stabilize, it's not as easy to add stuff back in. And so we'll be watching to see kind of what happens with some of these production estimates. But for now, I feel like we're kind of gathering into this consensus, where in Argentina, it does look like we'll probably lose 1 million to a couple million metric tons, depending, obviously, like February weather and March weather is going to matter in Argentina in a big way. Whereas in Brazil, we're probably just more going to land right around where the USDA is sitting. Like the USDA is at 169. AgriInvest is around 170. We've seen some other private estimates more in those lower 170 areas. And so that's a bit of a difference. I mean, ahead of Christmas, we were discussing a 180 possibly out of Brazil. And now that appears as though that won't be the case. Other thing to watch, obviously, with heavy rain, where you've seen over the last couple of weeks, parts of Mato Grosso, Mato Grosso do Sul, some of these other areas, and it's isolated, though it is, I'm going to say, more widespread than what we would traditionally see from what I'm seeing. Some quality issues, heavy rainfall, too much cloud cover. Some of these other things are causing these beans to sprout in pods. But I really want to say, okay, this is something that we do see circulate every year. Brazil does tend to have to fight conditions when it comes to harvesting their crop and getting it out of the field and all of these other things. And so we'll take it all with a grain of salt, but it could matter.
A question here.
Yes, of course.
Sorry to interrupt. Can I ask it? Because I know I've spoken to you in the past. Well, actually, also when you and Nick were having a conversation in the past, you were saying about in South America, kind of the quality of beans, isn't all that, that, as I think Nick, our friend Nick was saying, literally they'll just go and buy them off the black market wherever they can. So is this because because of that, because of the lower quality of the, I guess, the genetics of the beans, does that mean that's why you're increasingly have these problems about, podding early and stuff like that? And or is it completely irrelevant?
No, it's mostly weather driven, you could say. It's
Right.
genetic wise, like you have to give a shout out to some of these folks in Brazil because they have created beans that are accustomed to their soil types and their growing conditions and some of these other things. But
Right.
there is no soybean in the world, no crop in the world really, that when it gets close to being ready for maturity, can withstand 5 to 8 inches each week. And that's what we've seen in parts
Right.
of Mato Grosso, where they've seen upwards of 8 inches of rain here last week. They're expecting another 3, 4, 5 inches this week, depending. But we are seeing to where it's going to start to calm down. And you have to remember, they're still in the rainy season. Like they're used to
Yeah.
dealing with this to a certain extent. Like they need the moisture in order to be able to plant their safrinha crop well and all of these other things. But if we do see a continuation of super heavy rainfall in some of these spots, it's going to be problematic, and you'll hear more about it.
Yeah.
And one of the things we have seen, and there's been a little bit of a conversation, Sinograin has upped their purchases of U.S. soybeans, and part of that is, they store better. U.S. beans store better. Brazilian beans tend to have a higher protein content, though. That is one caveat I should throw out there. Is they are to a certain extent have more oil and more protein, so they're better for immediate crushing. It's the U.S. beans. The difference is the storage. U.S.
Yeah.
beans basically once you get them into condition, and have them stay in condition, make sure they stay in condition, which isn't the hardest thing. They can kind of sit and chill for a while. Whereas Brazilian beans, they're wet, they're going to need to be put through and crushed. And they do have value. And so one of the things we'll be watching, speaking of US versus Brazil, right, is the spread in value. And so our friend Eduardo this morning from AgriInvest was discussing, what we're seeing there. The U.S. versus Brazil bean spread. Brazil beans were about 50 cents cheaper, I believe, at the start of December. You're now looking at about $1.20 sort of spread. So their basis has collapsed. Part of that obviously influenced by the weaker real, but also anticipation of harvest of a big crop. It's still a record crop, even if it's a little smaller than what we were thinking. And so we have seen that spread work out to $1.20. Eduardo pointed out last year it was $1.50 when we encouraged Brazilian beans to work into the U.S. And so just something to have in the back of your mind. If you've got
Yeah.
beans that you're looking to sell here or market, you're probably working our way, within the next couple, 3 weeks that we'll talk about Brazilian imports into the U.S. That is not unusual. The USDA has Brazilian imports marked or not Brazilian imports, U.S. imports, not necessarily from Brazil, but U.S. bean imports at 30 million bushels this year. They upped at 5 million last year. Everyone will get worked up, but it's a usual trade that we see, and it's probably getting close to coming, which could, kind of set back beans here as we work ahead. So,
Yeah.
so that kind of covers, I think, part of that. Any questions on that side of the
No, all good. All good. I'm
pond?
following along nicely.
Yeah. Otherwise, we're going to be watching energy info. We get NOPA crush out this afternoon or midday, noon, I believe, December figures. Traders are expecting it to be a record. I am totally girding my loins for it to be disappointing or below what traders were expecting. Maybe I'm completely wrong in this, and you're going to see crushers just absolutely try to hump and dump before the end of the year when we lost the tax credit. But I'm prepared for it to be quote unquote disappointing today, but still be really strong. You know what I mean? Like probably lower than what
Yeah.
traders are expecting, but still really solid comparatively speaking, because we have grown our crush demand here in the US so much. Look at ethanol numbers coming out. One of the things to caution is that ethanol margins are a bit poorer than what we'd like to see, and that'll also kind of influence, domestic basis for US farmers here. One of the things that's saving us in ethanol is our huge export demand that we've been seeing. And so every week I kind of like to watch the stocks draw down, get a feel for what we're looking at there, just to make sure that we're still shipping it. But from an overall standpoint, fundamentally speaking, it's really all about South America. And then, of course, Trump trade and what we're going to see there. But at this point, we don't really have anything new to go on there. We got that article out yesterday from Bloomberg. It really didn't say much. It said something, but it didn't really say much. So, like basically, we're already expecting, right? Is it too hot, too cold? Probably somewhere in the middle. And so we'll be watching those, watching that headline, watching outside markets and all that good, happy horse stuff. But beyond that, really, I expect price wise, we're probably going to grind it out here for a little bit. I don't, there's not much in the way of really major fundamental inputs, you could say. There'll be some headline risk, obviously, and some other things. If we see a disappointing, rainfall amounts, or see some of the rain be taken out of the forecast here for southern Brazil as we work our way towards the weekend, that could be a catalyst. But really, we kind of are chewing through or getting accustomed to what the USDA numbers mean for the new pricing ranges that we're looking
Yeah.
at. And I feel like we're getting close to fair value for now until we have a something else come that's going to push us in but I feel like the support is there for us in the short term, just based on all of the unknowns and the demand growth that we're seeing.
Perfect.
So I think that's
Well,
it. I think that covers
well,
it.
awesome.
Live from
Awesome.
Wisconsin, right? Like
Live from
everyone loves
Wisconsin. Well, there you go.
Wisconsin.
Live from Wisconsin, live from London. Listeners, thank you as always for tuning in. Again, shout out to all our regular listeners, as well as our friends that are listening in as well. And also, again, myself and Angie, I speak for Angie here, I'm sure, really welcome the positive feedback we've been having on these shows since we've been starting. There's much, much more to come in 2025, so stay tuned for more. Oh, big shout out to Nick. Hello, Nick. Nice to see him tuning in. But yeah, we will catch you all tomorrow. So yeah, tune in tomorrow. See you later.
Sounds like a plan. Have a good one.
See ya. Bye.